Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Intelligent Gentleman Podcast. I am your host, Milt Walker, and today we're going to be talking about the yogic sciences, and we're going to be talking about some of the things that people can do if you're interested in it to get started with it, because I feel like it has definitely had a major impact on the way that the world has evolved over the centuries, and I feel like the message is still definitely relevant in today's day and age. And there's so much to learn about it. And I know sometimes, when we're coming into things like this, we say, hey, how do I get started with this? I know a question that I always get asked is, how do you meditate? Because people don't know, they think that meditation is one thing. And so they have questions and they want to know, how do I get into it? Because it's something that they feel like they need, but it's just something that they don't really know how to do, right? And as we all know, that until you know how to do something, then it's kind of a scary experience, because you're going into the unknown of what life is. And so when you're living from that type of place, sometimes it can be hard to kind of transition to something different. But today I have a very special guest that's going to be talking about just that, and she's going to be giving you her experience, as well as giving you some pointers and some tips for you to be able to start your own journey inward into yourself. And so, without further ado, I'll say, hey, I've been following her Instagram posts for a long time now, and I've always gained value from those posts because it's always been something that I've been interested in. And so, as time has passed and life has evolved, it was very fortunate that that uh, that they saw fit to bring us together and bring this information to you all. So without further ado, I want to introduce Hermione, and she is Daily Prana on Instagram. And I just want you to go ahead and just tell. First of all, thank you for joining me, and thank you for being here with us and sharing your energy and your experience. And I just want you to tell us a little bit about yourself first and what you do, and just
Sure.
kind of introduce yourself so that people know who you are.
Thank you, Milt, for having me here. This is an honor, and I have my yoga journey basically is it's been such an awakening for me. So
Mm.
my message is to my presence. So yeah, I'll start with this that I grew up in India, grew up in the western part of India with my family, and my grandfather was a very spiritual man in the family, and
Mm.
I always looked up to him. I saw him in various yogic practices on a daily basis. His practice was very devotional, a little bit
Mm.
on, based on religions and stuff, but
Okay.
he was a very spiritual man. So
Yeah.
he always came to us in that energy. But then life is like, when you look at life as a series of events that help you grow into who you're supposed to be, I look at it like that. So my life definitely took a
Absolutely.
turn, had a lot of a stepfather who I did not kind of, jive with, you can say. And then that was another journey into myself. There's a lot of confusion, there was a lot of conflict inside growing up as a teenager. And yeah, and like when you have that kind of confusion and unfulfillment and you bring that into your adult life,
Mm.
that's what happened to me. I
Wow.
went, yeah, like I studied something that I was very good at. I was in the fashion industry for like 10 years. Yeah, I studied fashion, and I went and I came to the US, to New York, to study fashion even more. And I went into that whole industry. And then I realized when I actually started working that, oh my God, this is not for me. I am still seeking after all this time of
Yeah.
like training myself into something. I'm still not there.
I can relate. Yeah,
All,
definitely.
yeah, I mean, with all due respect, there are amazing creative people in the industry, in fashion industry, and they are doing their purpose. But I asked myself, is this my purpose? Do I see myself doing this for the rest of my life, designing clothes for people, for brands? I was like, my soul is looking for more and I just cannot settle. So yeah,
Mm,
and like I said, going back into the whole thing, like my life has been like a series of experiences that keep adding a layer inside of me, and then I was married for a long time. I have two kids, and then very over the period of time, my partner and I definitely started evolving in very different ways.
mm,
Very, very different ways.
yeah.
He went into the more, material side of things, and all honor to him, that is his thing. But I went just more inwards, I just, and that's just the way I think karmically you are always like going in certain directions. So yeah, my yoga journey started then. I decided to, hey, I can't do this anymore. I want to go and train into yoga, because that's what I've known. Like, yoga is the science of your body, your mind, and all of us, in whatever the population of our planet is today, everyone has one thing to fight, and that's our mind. Our
Mm,
mind is always creating thoughts and wandering into the past and the future, and that's where all the suffering is.
absolutely.
So I decided to go and learn yoga with a guru in India. So I left there, I went and learned Ashtanga Vinyasa form of yoga. And
Mm,
that was a really big opening in my life. When you do something like, when you get into a healing art like yoga, I call it a healing art because
absolutely.
it changes you from the inside, and from your body it goes into your mind, and from the mind space you can really reach your inner spirit, your inner essence, which we, on a regular basis, it's non-existent for us.
Mm,
Regularly we live life, we are only living in the body, we are feeding the body, we are washing the body, we are having whatever bodily experiences, and then we are into our thoughts. But the pure awareness that's inside of us, that's unchanging, right?
right.
Which actually is our real essence. Nobody's really, we can't access it. So what yoga does, it helps you access that pure awareness inside you very easily. So you are,
Mm,
yeah, like, and the best way I can explain uh, yoga, maybe in a beginner's lingo, is body, mind, and spirit are three different elements operating in three different ways. Like, they are all operating separately. What yoga does is brings it all together, and we are operating as
mm,
one family, one unit.
yeah.
And the vehicle that we use is our breath. So we
Mm,
breath is what helps us, come to that place. So you
right.
always think about it, okay? Think about, you go scuba diving, deep sea
Mm,
diving, you're inside the ocean. You are aware of each and every breath, because you're taking the breath in, taking the breath out. And if you don't do that,
right.
you will be drowning, right? You
Right.
have to be
Right.
aware of every breath.
Yeah. You're
Think
kind of
about
hyper aware of that, right? You.
hyper aware, exactly. So think about living life like that, conscious
Yeah.
of every breath, deepening that breath into the body and being in the body. What our problem is that we live in the mind space, all of us. So coming back, that this body is our vessel, our home for this lifetime. This is our home for the rest of this entire life, and then honoring that body, and then taming that, training that mind to be in a certain way. That, I
Mm,
would say, is the goal of yoga, basically. But the highest goal of yoga is meditation. So we can talk about that as well, but this is just an intro.
right. No, but that's good. And I think you hit on a lot of key points again that a lot of people are interested in. Like, they want to know because some people, they equate meditation by
Yeah,
itself, and some people, see meditation as a part of something else. And like you mentioned, there's a religious side to yoga, but then there's the actual science of yoga.
Yeah,
that is just that applies to everybody. It doesn't matter what you believe. It's just a part of this reality, right? It's a part of the
exactly.
laws of the universe. And like you said, it teaches you how to use those three portions of your whole beingness and in harmony, and not working against each other to you know that causes the disharmony, the dis-ease in your life, you know, and that bad karmic energy, right? Where, you
Absolutely.
start to kind of spiral out of control, because you're not in balance, right? So that's why. And would you say that's another reason why balance is a very important point
Yeah.
about yoga as well?
Oh, yeah, of course. So, if you look at yoga, the science of yoga, okay, the science of yoga is it's not a philosophy, it's not a religion, it's not a cult, it's a science, right? Excuse me.
Hmm.
So we always start with our body, because unless and until our body is still,
Mm,
we are never going to train the mind space. Unless and until the mind is still, we are never going to go into sitting still for longer periods of time, and that's the goal of
right.
yoga, right? Meditating and sitting still for longer periods of time. Because when we go into meditation, which I'll cover that as well, what practice that is and everything, that is the highest staircase. You can think about this like a tree with different limbs, and there are different limbs, different ways of attaining the same goal.
Right.
And there's using your breath, using your body, using different ways of like behavior in the society, and different like changing your attitude, changing your thoughts. So there's very, very different varied ways of getting into the same place, and you can all use it all to attain the highest goal, and that's meditation for yoga.
And I like to think about it like a inverted tree, right? So you're starting off at the branches, and then you kind of come into the trunk, and then you go into the roots, and then it starts to spread out again, right? And
Yeah,
so and it looks, but when you're looking at it, it's the same. So
it's the same.
it,
Yep.
so and and that's what really intrigued me about it, because I can see that divine principle in that, of the duality of life, right? Of knowing that there's physical, but there is also something more
Yeah.
that we don't see, that's actually, that is the same importance or even more important, right? Because like you said, it's the awareness is, or the spirit is the eternal part of you. It never goes away. It's always a part of the
Yes.
eternalness of what life is.
Yeah.
And so, that's, getting back in touch with that and letting that kind of guide you is that whole journey, right? Like you said at the beginning,
Absolutely. Yeah.
going inward instead of,
And that's
moving
called,
outward.
I would call that a passive awareness. Like
Ah,
being aware of everything that's happening around you. Like, and then if you are always aware of that unchanging essence and spirit, and you're always connected to that pure consciousness, then you are practicing yoga every single day with every
mm,
single action. You don't have to be doing postures or
right,
breath work or anything. To me, there are two keys, and this is a little more subtle, but being aware of that essence at every minute of the day, and second thing, being aware of your breath as much as possible.
right,
That's going to keep bringing back the mind. Mind is a monkey mind, it's scattered with 80,000 thoughts every day, right?
right.
And when I found out that, yeah, we have 80,000 thoughts every day, and 95% of those thoughts are the same exact thoughts that we have had every day.
Yeah,
I
patterns, right? They're
Oh,
patterns. Yeah,
exactly. And so
yeah.
think about it. If the Buddha says you are what you think, right? So then you are creating your reality. And then if you're creating your reality in a untrained, untamed way. Your mind is like, you can't control it. It's like a untrained dog, like just
Mm,
running here and there. Then you are just a victim to your thoughts, basically.
right. Yeah,
um
and I
yeah,
think that's really important. Again, because when you're coming into something, in living in the West, and as you said, you grew up in India, uh, coming to the West, you get a different type of, you know,
yeah,
vibe. Everybody's more external. Everybody's more, push, 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 go, go, go,
yeah.
you know, don't think about it, just do it. You hear like these slogans that people are just, kind of, honing in on the fact that you don't want to be mindful
Yeah,
of what you're doing, right?
yeah,
And I think taking it back, and that's what I really love about yoga, is taking it back to the quintessence of existence, right? The
yeah,
quintessential, what the essence of life is, which is the breath for us,
yes,
right? So when you're breathing, you're alive. You know that. You're alive. What do they
exactly.
when you're having some health troubles, and what's the first thing they do? They check for a pulse, and they check to see if you're breathing.
Yeah,
Because even the pulse can be faint. I know I've researched of some people who meditate so much that they can lower their heart rate down to where it's almost, you don't even know that their heart is still beating.
absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
and
absolutely.
so you can fool with that, but if you got breath, then you're alive.
The
You're alive
breath is the first thing that you did the
as a
first thing that
baby.
you did as
Yeah,
a baby, and
exactly. Yeah,
the last thing you will do, so,
right,
and then
right.
most of us forget about the main thing, that the main element, and
Absolutely.
we are just
And it
living
weaves
life.
a thread.
We are running behind something we don't even know. Right? We
Right,
think,
right.
yeah, the next best thing, the next
Exactly.
vacation, the next this, but like,
Right.
let's come back to,
Mm,
inwards first, I feel. Yeah. And
absolutely.
when we have ourselves in control and in expansion, then every day can be a celebration, right? It doesn't
Absolutely.
have to be an event. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say, like, um, breath is in yoga. Breath is important. Why is it important? Because we s- according to many philosophies, not just yogic philosophy, there's
Right.
the Chinese, the Japanese, the Reiki, the Ki, Chi,
Yep.
Prana.
Yep.
There's different words for life force, right? So in yogic philosophy, we call the life force prana. So prana is that subtle element, the universal life force that's present in all of us, and it's also present in every matter in the animate, inanimate objects, right?
Yeah.
There is more life force in more aware, conscious humans. There is a little less life force in probably animals, plants, but everything is made of life force, right? Energy
Right.
and matter.
And what's
So
really interesting about that is recently an article, maybe a no more than a couple months ago, I read an article where science confirmed that. They said that they found out that there was living, that what they can gather, that consciousness, which we're talking about, right? We're talking about that prana, we're talking
yeah,
about that existence itself. um it runs through animate and inanimate things, and it's one of
yes,
those, because it's always been the position of spirituality that science is a baby.
hmm,
It's learning about all these things, but spirituality, you just know these things. It's not
yeah,
about learning it, it's about knowing it, right? And so you know it from an inside out perspective versus from an outside in perspective, right? And so,
exactly.
and they both have their places, and science is okay. And but again, when we start to get these types of information, when we get this information, then we really should kind of change the way that we operate, because everything that we've been doing up to a certain point has been based off of that type of information. So they really should be changing a lot of things, and in some places they are, and in a larger, grander
Yeah.
scheme. If you're looking at it from a universal perspective, you see it because you see the conversations that people have. You see now, corporations, they're sending they're actually promoting, meditation and wellness and self-care out to their employees and stuff like that, because they've realized that it's all tied. Productivity is tied to your well-being.
Yeah,
You
very
can't
well said.
expect you
Yeah.
can't expect people to be productive and their well-being is not being taken care of,
I
right?
mean, we
So
are not machines. We are emotional
we're
beings. We
right.
feel that
We're
feel. However, whichever CEO you are at the end always
right.
coming from a place of emotion,
Right,
So,
absolutely. And again, because it's part of that energy, and the emotion actually drives you. And that's one of the things that in my experience that I came to learn. And you mentioned it too, in other, philosophies and stuff like that. But it's ancient knowledge. We'll
yeah,
just say it that way. It's ancient knowledge that there's a force, there's something more than what you can see that's moving this universe, that's moving things, right? So whether it be
yeah,
ki, whether it be prana, whether it be chi, whether it be spirit, whether it be whatever name you want to attach to it, it's the principle that's important, that you understand that there's something more to you. You're not just your mind, and you're not just your body,
yeah, exactly.
which incidentally, that's one of the yogic meditations that I have experienced, and that I do, quite often,
Yeah,
uh, is I think it's called the Isha Kriya,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Completely.
that's one of the things where you're basically telling yourself you are not the body and you're not the mind, because
It's an affirmation. Yeah,
it's an affirmation, and it literally is a journey inwards, because you start to think about that phrase over and over and over, and you say, okay, so now the question becomes, well, what am I? And then
yeah,
you start to become aware. Like you said, first you become aware of the breath, and then you become aware of the awareness that is aware of the breath, and then
exactly.
you see, like, oh wow, that's what I am. That is truly what I am. And I've experienced this, from a beginner's perspective
Yeah.
coming into it, and it's a very beautiful thing. It's a very beautiful experience. So
I mean,
tell
so
it.
imagine the same thing that you just said, okay? You're not your mind, you're not your body. But, and then when you were able to really touch that inner essence, and that doesn't happen very often, right? It happens once, like you get a glimpse of it and then you go back into the mind space, right?
Right.
So imagine you are cluttered here, like stress and things to do, and oh my god, so much planning, oh my god, all these past experiences, my suffering about this break off, this thing, like anything, this is
Right.
all stored here, and all we are doing. And think about how are you going to go into that inner essence with that clutter. I want
Right.
you to imagine your room, which is so messy, right? It's so messy that you enter and there is no space to step on like a raw normal floor. How are you going like unless and until you clean home,
Right.
you
Yeah.
will never be able to see what's there, right? Like we
Right. You're right.
so that's exactly what we do in yoga. We clean home,
Mm,
clean our body, we free our toxins, we clean the mind space, we free our behavioral patterns, and that's when it's easier to go and be in touch with that pure consciousness which is inside of us.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So now I want you to just talk a little bit about some of the things, because again, one of the main questions that I get when people talk about things like this and they're interested in things like this is, what is meditation?
Yeah,
How do I meditate? Right? Because people want to know. They want to know. So if you could give people, and I'll give the disclaimer for you, these are just things that I don't want to say suggestions, but these are methods that you
yeah,
can use to get to that space. But you have to put in the work, and you have to experience it to actually get the benefit. It's not something that you're just gonna get the knowledge and then all of a sudden it works for you. That's not how that
Absolutely.
works.
No, you said
Uh,
it very right. Yeah.
yeah,
It- if I give you a very vague way of like, hey, no, just be aware of your breath and then intermit. It feels really, it's very seducing, but it's
it's a
not
little
the
deeper than that. It's a little deeper.
right. So I would say for a beginner, right? A beginner, a person who's ready and seeking and wants to have more, right?
Right,
For them, there are many resources online today, YouTube and everything. There are guided meditations, and that's a great way to start. Even if you start sitting still for 5 minutes,
right,
5 minutes sitting still, I would say like sitting on like a pillow or something that will raise your, raise your pelvis so you're able to sit more comfortably. Because what is the main goal of meditation? We want to keep our spine straight. Because according to in the yogic science, our energy centers are in the spine. So
right,
if you're sitting like this and like this, it's not aligned, right? So we want to
right.
keep our spine straight so the energy flows. It's all about energy here. So sitting still for 5 minutes, starting there, just closing your eyes and really starting deepening that breath, because most of us are chest breathers, right? Our breath finishes at the chest and that's it. So really bringing that breath all the way into the gut, into the belly is what I would start there. I would start, even if you take 3 deep breaths, your being
Right.
changes. So starting with your breath is what where I would start the meditation. A very
Okay.
common meditation technique is you and you and I can practice that if you want right now, and I
Yeah,
can
let's
help
do it.
you, right? Okay.
Let's do it.
So let's sit with our spine straight and hands just generally comfortable on the knees, the shoulder blades back, and just let the head be easy, nothing stiff. Just let it just float. And as you close your eyes, first thing, you become aware of your inhales and your exhales. First, you just take normal breaths and just notice where the breath stops. Does it stop in my chest? Does it stop near my diaphragm? Or does it stop near the top thoracic part of my chest? It's even more shallow. Or can I bring the breath all the way into the belly? So just notice the first couple of breaths. So you notice your breath, and then from there, you start pulling that breath all the way into the deepest part of your belly through the nose. And as you breathe in, you inflate the belly out. As you breathe out, you contract the belly in. And then you just ride your mind on that breath, going all the way into the belly and all the way out. And that is the easiest way of really getting into that state of silence. And then there are different elements you can add. You can bring your eyeballs that are in your eyes are closed, but internally you can bring your eyeballs to gaze at your the middle of your brows, to center the mind even more and keep breathing and keep observing what's coming up. There will be sensations in the body, there will be discomforts in the body, because we are not used to sitting still. We want to do something all the time, so there will be these discomforts. You just observe. Okay, right now I'm having this itch on my knee. All right, okay, cool, no problem. I'm just focusing on my breath right now. All right, I'm having these thoughts about what I'm going to have for lunch later on. All right, no problem. Let me get back to my breath for now. So just reinforcing yourself back to the breath, just for a couple of breaths now. Let's take a few of these belly breaths now in silence, observing the thoughts. And when I say observing, means don't engage into the same thought. Just let it go. Let it happen, let it go, let it flow. Let the next thought come. It's okay. And then you can slowly open your eyes. So
Yes.
this is uh, I mean, this is the beginning steps to start stilling the mind for sure. And if you do
Absolutely.
this after a few intelligent moves, vinyasas, and yoga moves, your body is then more stiller, mind is more stiller, and that's why we do
Mhm.
what we do. We do these yoga postures for that.
Absolutely. And that was definitely beneficial. And I know some of the listeners are going to be going to be practicing that. They might rewind it, hopefully they do.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think that was a beautiful explanation of that, and definitely a great demonstration. Um,
yeah,
and with that being said, what would be the so after you practice being still,
yeah,
right, and bringing yourself back to your breath,
yeah.
what would you say would be the next step? Like, how would I know that, okay, I'm ready for this next step, and what would that next step be?
So that's a great question, and that's where I come back to saying that this is a practice.
Right.
It's a practice that you do every day. There is no goal for meditation. The
Mm,
goal is to just reinforcing yourself back to touch that pure consciousness, so that yeah, of course, when you practice meditation for years and years together, your being becomes freer and you're more in touch with that pure consciousness very easily. Right now, it's very hard to access that, right?
right. Right.
And why do you want to be in touch with the pure consciousness? Let's address that first. That's where your inner joy is. So there's a Sanskrit
Mm,
term called Sat Chit Ananda, right? Sat
okay.
means truth, Chit
Sat,
means
chit,
um, the mind space or the being, and
mhm,
Ananda means
ananda.
bliss. So our truth
Ah,
of our consciousness is
sat, chit,
bliss.
ananda.
Yeah, Sat Chit Ananda. So all that means is again like the truth of your consciousness is pure bliss. You are, and that's what, like, a lot of people who do plant medicines, or a lot of people who have near death experiences, or a lot of people who are really deep meditators, they have accessed that place many
Right.
times, right? And they know that when you actually access that place, that's where you're, and that's when you're actually in touch with the source itself, right?
Right.
And like you said
Exactly.
at the starting of our meeting, that when
Right.
you are in bringing energy from that source constantly, there's abundance, right? There is no
Abundance.
scarcity, there's just
Yes.
abundance of everything. And when you think about how you can feel and live your life in that constant abundance and constant bliss, and that I would say is the goal of meditation, to really access that
Right.
place easily. So the more and more you go into your practice every day, finding one specific time in the day, right? Whether it's the
Mhm.
morning, and sitting, if today you start your practice of meditation, you sit for 5 minutes, next week you start 10 minutes, and the week after you start 15 minutes of sitting still, and then you go up to 30 minutes of everyday practice without any, you brush your teeth, right? You never forget to brush your teeth, you never forget to go to the bathroom. So then make this practice an everyday habit, and then there are immense benefits of meditation, even beyond spirituality, right? Our
Right.
There is neuroplasticity, you create
Absolutely.
new neurons, and you have more creativity, you have more
Yes.
productivity, like energy. So there's
Yep.
a lot there's a lot of benefits even in the physical world,
Right. Exactly.
like,
Which we would, people would say, you get some immediate benefits, right? And I would say just just even just from the exercise that we just did,
yeah,
it gives you a sense of relaxation, which physiologically relieves stress, right? Which we know that stress is the number one cause to a lot of different
everything,
disease, right? So
everything.
everything, right? So when that's the case, when you're able to do that and you feel that, then you feel that comfort. And I think that's the first day. Once you start to feel that comfort of being able to sit, when you not to say that it's a long lasting or anything like
Yeah,
that. That's not a realistic expectation starting out,
Yeah.
but you will feel that, and then it's a glimpse. It's like a shadow, right? It's a reflection just to show you, okay, you're on the right path, and then you keep going. And as you said, you
Yes.
expand on that and you keep doing it. And I like what you said about making it a habit or a routine, which will become a way of life to you eventually, because that's what we have lost. And that's what I was speaking about uh, just a minute ago when I was talking about how people feel like they want to rush, 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 go, go, go. You know, you I always say this all the time, I don't like to rush,
Yeah.
I like to feel very, very at ease when I move into anything, if I'm going to work, and I like to be there early because I don't like to feel like I got to rush into the door and just get right started. I
Yeah.
want to walk in with a very easy spirit and just be relaxed and say, okay, all right, so now we start, and then
Exactly.
go
Yeah.
into it, so that's something that is very valuable to me, so I structure my life in that way. So, and would it cost me getting up?
Yeah.
Yes, but let's take it a little bit further. That would mean it would cost me going to sleep a little earlier, right? So
Exactly.
that way it's not affecting me in that way. So now it's not a loss of anything. It's not me sacrificing anything. It's me planning and being conscious of my well-being and knowing that that's important and putting that first. So it
Absolutely.
starts to create that type of mentality in you versus the lack mentality, thinking, oh, well, I just didn't get enough sleep. No, you just didn't,
The
you
shift
didn't, yeah, exactly. You didn't give
paradigm
yourself
shift.
enough
Yeah.
sleep. That's what it was, and until you, and then eventually you may get to the point of well-being where you don't need that much sleep. I think I've read
For
that a
sure.
lot, where even Sadhguru, one of the yoga gurus that I
Yes.
follow as well, he speaks about it all the time, sleep is for rest, but if your body is very light and it doesn't and it's and you're not, a lot of your internal processes are not on a very fast clock,
Yeah.
then you're not expending a whole lot of energy, so you don't require a lot of energy.
True.
That's
So
It's not. Yeah,
you can actually operate on less sleep and still be the same.
right.
You don't
And
need to
still
sleep
and,
like
and
for
still
nine
be
hours.
energetic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're
Exactly.
not, because but it's a balance. It's always a balance. It's
Yeah.
always, because again, you're balancing the eternal part of you with the finite part of you. You're
Yes.
balancing the mind and body with your spirit. So, as you balance that, and it teaches, it
Yes.
teaches a lot of good
Definitely.
things, like patience, for instance. You learn patience, right? Because it's
Yeah,
like,
and
okay,
another thing that I definitely would
yeah,
like to share is as you meditate more, as you go more into your healing arts and yoga, in any kind of like these kind of ancient arts, you get more in touch with your superpower, and that's your intuition. You know,
mm,
your inner voice, which is always guiding you to the next best. Yeah,
yes,
and that intuition, most of us like are not able to access, you know. So and that is another amazing benefit, that
mm,
accessing the inner gut, the inner guru, you know, the
hmm,
inner wisdom.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. I've heard that.
it's
Yep.
all inside you, it's all
Yeah.
inside you.
So
Yeah.
so now I want to ask, because there was a specific post that I saw you make the other day, and it kind of ties into what we're talking about now, um, which is getting accessing that within you more regularly, right? And
Yeah.
I think you laid out some steps for people to be able to do that, in your Instagram post.
Yeah.
Uh, and what you said was, how can you make your life a meditation, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to just talk a little bit about that, just to because what I want people to understand is it is a process.
Yeah.
So what we spoke about earlier was you beginning this process, right? And now I want her to share with you some of the things that come along the way, because as we know, it's a never ending journey. We're always going to constantly evolve. So we're not looking for an end goal, but I want her to share some of the fruits that we are able to enjoy throughout this journey that we take. So if you could just kind of
Yeah,
talk
this
about that a
is
little bit.
wonderful because see, all of us are running towards the next thing to do, right? Because we live in the mind. We are living in the mind and we're like, oh, I have this thing to do. Oh my God, my life is like, oh my goodness, always in this place of urgency of the next thing. Because why? The mind is always in the past or the future.
Mm,
And when we are relaxed, when we are, let me say this, another, let me rephrase it basically, just what you said few minutes back, like I rather be relaxed and live life or than like be in under stress and live life. You're doing the same thing, you got to do what you got to do.
you're living,
It's
yeah, you're still living life. Right?
exactly.
Why not enjoy it? Why are you doing it?
I know it's one life, right? Like we don't
Right.
know what's next. So for me, like I when definitely have a practice of sitting still every single day, sitting silently without moving your body into your breath and everything. And I try to bring that practice, that awareness that I've cultivated into the rest of my day. And then how do you do it? Every time um, your mind goes out into on five different directions,
Hmm.
you have to reinforce it to come back with your breath. So, always being in touch with your breath is how you can bring that meditative awareness in the rest of your day. Always, like, yeah, you're not going to be conscious about with every breath you take, but as much as you can, coming back. Okay, I've not taken some, I've not been conscious, I've been doing something. Let me sit and take a few breaths and come back to center. Always come back to center and
Yes.
always, yeah. So I would say like that is the way to expand this practice into daily life. And another thing I would say, and I practice this every single day, is to go in totality in what you do. Right,
Mm.
today, like I'm having this tea here, okay, but I'm really going to have this tea,
Right, right.
like, I'm not gonna,
I'm gonna
I'm
savor the smell. I'm gonna try to
everything.
pick out every little taste that comes to me.
Exactly.
Yes, yes,
Exactly. Or if
absolutely.
I'm doing the dishes, I'm really going to do the dishes. I'm not
Right,
going to be like, hey, I'm
exactly.
happy to do the dishes. I'm not happy about it. Like, not that. So I'm really going to try and enjoy every little action of life.
Yes,
That is very important. And that's awareness again.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of tying in that same practice. So it's taking the
Exactly.
practice that you
During the day.
do,
And
and then
then as you do this every day, it just becomes your being that you're really
right,
just enjoying everything and you're
right,
enjoying life.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when and you find yourself even when things are not going that the way that you feel like they well, you might have a desire and want something to go one way, and then it doesn't start going that way, then you're still able to enjoy that, and you're still able to enjoy and say, well, you know what? Hey, I still got my breath. I still have this peace. I still have, my awareness, my consciousness. I still have my life. I'm still a part of this life. This life is still happening. And so
Exactly.
as it keeps unfolding and growing, and then it's radiating, and then you just I've had people ask me sometimes in certain situations, they say, why are you happy all the time?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you not? I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Yeah.
it's like one of those things, like, because we come to normalize the things that, the stress side of life. Like we know, oh, it's just a part of life, it's just this, or oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna go. Well, but you don't have to experience it in that way. Your
Yeah.
perception decides what your experience is. So if you can be mindful of that, then you control it. It's not it's not
That's
it's
where,
not ruled.
yeah, I mean, that's where self responsibility comes in because nobody externally, not even
Yeah,
our
self
mom,
responsibility.
okay,
Yeah,
the first person that gave us birth, not even your mom is responsible for your happiness, right?
right,
You are. Nobody external cares about that as much as you should be caring about your own
right.
state of being. Yeah. So always coming back to that self responsibility. Hey, life is happening, whether I like it or not. It's my attitude towards life that's the most important today. I can be happy or I can be stressed. And then there are tools to be more peaceful, more relaxed into life, and more aware, and always remembering that life is happening for us. Like you said, hey, there will be times when things are not going our way, and then we suffer, we come back to such suffering, right? But if you are always aware of this fact that hey, life is it's a school. I'm in a school here right now.
Right.
Earth school, right? I'm in
Exactly.
earth school.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Earth school,
I'm
right?
here to learn. So, and all these things that are happening are for me. They are happening for me. So thank you that they are
Gratitude.
happening. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Gratitude.
gratitude.
It
Yeah,
comes back full circle because again, it's so important to understand this. If you take the lesson to elevate yourself,
yeah,
then is that not a good thing? It is a good thing. That's a
absolutely.
great thing because through that, and I tell people this all the time, going back to what you said, the point that you make, um, if we focus on our own happiness, it automatically it automatically adds value to everything around you. So
Absolutely.
so anyone you come in contact with will feel that. It won't you won't have to, kind of, go back and forth.
Exactly.
It would just automatically be that way. And
With your
that's what
presence.
yeah,
Exactly.
you become, like you said, you become that, that principle. You embody it instead of it being just something you say or just something that you do occasionally, but you become it. And
Oh,
then your day-to-day life starts to reflect that, and then you start seeing these things happening, and then it's like, wow, I didn't,
yeah,
I didn't expect that, but that was, I can't tell you how many times, and it doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes, because
yeah,
again, the mistakes are a big part of it. I can't tell you how many times I've made a mistake and then come to find out that it was the best thing to happen.
absolutely.
What I actually wanted to happen wasn't the best thing. So actually that was guidance. It wasn't a mistake. It was
Yeah,
guidance.
it
And
was
see, taking
guidance.
it
It's
and
a
taking it
lesson.
that way.
Lesson,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lesson. And so when you take it that way, then the flow of the joy still, you never stop it. It doesn't get, tied up in any one of those energy centers. It gets released, and it just flows straight through you, and then it's like, okay, this is life.
Exactly.
you know
Exactly. And coming back to like why yoga is so important in this whole journey is because it just makes you lighter. Like think about a flute. A flute, that instrument, it's all hollow from inside.
yeah.
And if I shine light from the inside, you can see light coming out, right? It's hollow
Mm,
pipe. And with all our blockages, that light is not
mm.
able to shine. So the more you can become lighter, brighter, and that's what yoga is for, right?
I like that. Yeah, definitely, definitely. That makes all of the sense.
Yes. And these tools are available for all of us, like
Yeah.
right here.
And speaking of all these tools being available, why don't you talk a little bit about, because you actually give classes and
Yeah,
you do like virtual events, and you do virtual sessions where you help people to come into this awareness and to get into their practice of coming into the awareness, should I say? Because again, it's not her responsibility, it's yours. So
exactly.
we want to say this right. We want to make sure we convey this information correctly. So definitely go ahead and tell them how they can reach you, and how they would be able to get started with you if they
Sure.
wanted to. They wanted to.
Yeah, so I do 21-day courses, like 21-day beginners transformation, where we start all these different tools and techniques, and not just yoga, but also a lot of intentional journaling, a lot of intentional active meditations, because our body is not ready for sitting still. I teach my students active meditation, so like
Mm,
walking and breathing and having a certain tools and techniques. So this is a
that's really
21 day.
good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because then you're doing
So
you.
whatever level you are in your journey, you have a place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
So 21 day, I call them cohorts. So I do those. And then I also teach, I have a lot of private clients that all over the world where I teach them virtually. So they are seekers and practitioners who want to go deep into their, tone their body, strength, because these are byproducts of yoga. These are
Right.
amazing byproducts. You get youthful appearance, you get this toned, strong body, and toxin free body, and disease free body. Your blood circulation is better, you
Yeah.
have more creativity in the end, in the cerebral region. You have less stress, you have tools to access inner peace really quickly, and all these are byproducts, right? So people work with me for different kind of goals. Most of the people that I work with want kind of some kind of a transformation. They want to
Right.
break free from their own inner shackles. So we work for 8 weeks. I have coaching programs that I work with them online. We meet a couple of times in the week and everything. And to me, I find those the most transformational, the 8 week
Mhm.
programs, because by the end of the 8 week, this person
Right.
is a new being.
Yeah.
He's got this inner alchemy started, and something has changed inside him or her. So it's very
Right.
transformational. This work is very transformational. I'm just very, very grateful that I'm able to share it with everyone, because I went through the whole, transformation myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I use that as my gift to the world.
Yeah. So on so let people know how they can get in contact with you
Sure.
so that they can actually do this, and I'll post it in the comments and stuff like that once this goes live and everything. But definitely just let people know, just kind of put it out there. I know the Instagram, you're on Instagram.
Yeah.
What other platforms are
I
you
have
on?
I have my Facebook page, but I would
Okay,
say the best way and the quickest way to get in touch with me is through my Instagram, because that's my platform.
perfect.
So Daily Prana, Daily Prana, is Prana, and yeah, just DM me. That's the best way to get in touch, and that's where we get started.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. Definitely, definitely. And I appreciate you so much for coming and sharing your journey and your gift with us and helping us with our breathing and being intentional with our breathing. It was very educational because again, I'm still a beginner and I'm still learning during my journey as well, even though and I love to share. I love to share these things with people because I don't just want it for myself. I want it for other people as well.
Absolutely.
You
You're
know,
doing amazing work. Yeah.
hey, no, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you, and definitely. Is there anything else you want to say to the listeners before you go?
Hmm. Yeah, life is too short. Just,
Ah,
enjoy it. Like, that's it. Come back, always come back.
right. Come back to your peace. Right. Exactly. Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Hermione.
Mo.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you so much,
Pleasure.
and I'm so grateful that our paths crossed and we were able to connect on this. And
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
look forward to still connecting with you and
Sure.
taking some classes as well. Um,
Absolutely, Mel.
and so
Yeah, you're always welcome.
thank you,
All
thank you.
right.
And with that
Okay.
being
Yeah.
said, thank you all for supporting and thank you for watching or listening if you're listening to this. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.